Okay, so this is the fourth video of my safety procedures, and at this point I'm going to basically do a review of the test and give you an idea, make sure that you understand and know everything you need to know for the test. First of all, when you're working with a sharp edge tool, you need to make sure that you are aware of where you're cutting and make sure you're not cutting towards anybody else or cutting towards yourself. Don't cut towards your hand, don't cut towards your leg or your body in any way whatsoever. You need to be aware of anything that's dangerous around the classroom. If something spilled on the floor, or sawdust, or once again somebody misbehaving, or maybe they shouldn't be working. If there's anything dangerous going on at all, you need to make sure you let me know about that so that I can keep us all safe, because that's the ultimate goal, is that everybody leaves at the end of the day happy and healthy and having a great time. It is particularly dangerous to be distracting somebody. So if somebody's working on a tool, don't be chatting to them about what's going on in your life. Leave them alone. Get away from them. Be completely away from the machine. Let them do their work. If I have asked you to help somebody, great. Show them what they need to do and then leave. Distracting somebody is definitely dangerous when you're working on when they're working on a machine. Okay, if you see somebody that's violating the safety rules around the classroom, just please make sure you warn them and tell them that they're not supposed to be doing that. And if they continue to do that, make sure you tell me about that, because I got to make sure that everybody's being safe around here. Okay, when you're carrying a long object across the room, there's a couple different things you need to know about on the test. One of them is to make sure that the front end is high enough to avoid hitting people in the head and so forth, just above the people, and that puts the front end down low. The second is the possibility that you could just have another student at each, get a student's help, and you could have a student at each end of the board, and that's another option for that. All right, so it's particularly dangerous to have loosely fitting, ragged clothing, long sleeves, gloves. These are all dangerous when working on powered, like plugged-in machines, because you could potentially get your hand pulled into a machine or body pulled into a machine, or hair. Really want to make sure you keep your hair back while you're working. I have there's just a bunch of hair ties over there on my door, so if you've got long hair and you need to tie back your hair, I've got you covered on that one. If any student is doing something unsafe, you obviously are going to tell me about that. If you're not sure about what you're doing, or about a tool or anything like that, or how to do whatever you're doing, don't be shy. Come and see me. I'll find somebody to help you, or I'll help you myself. Always ask your teacher. If you hear a machine make a weird sound, something that's unusual or strange, something's not quite right about a machine, always make sure you tell me about that. Me personally, Mr. Olson, tie-dye guy. Let's see. Before you start using any machine, multiple things need to have happened. First of all, you need to ask me, hey, Mr. Olson, can I use the sander, or whatever it is. You also need to have passed a written test, and you also need to have passed an operational test, which basically means that I have seen you, and I have confidence that you know how to use it. So a written and operational tests are required in order to be able to use any of the powered tools. If you leave something on the floor, aka your backpack or binders, or something has fallen on the floor, or scraps of materials or anything like that, the danger is that somebody's going to trip or fall and hurt themselves in the classroom. The safety zone, or the working area around a machine, is reserved for the operator of the machine only. If you're assisting somebody, you really just need to show them what they need to do and get out of there. Only the operator of the machine should be in the safety zone. The guards are on the machines. Some machines have guards, and those guards are there to protect you from getting hurt. They're not going to make you 100% safe, by the way. Nothing's going to do that. You also have to use your brain and make sure that you're being careful about where you're putting your hands and what you're doing, and keeping an eye on what you're doing. It's not like a guard is going to absolutely make you safe, but it will make you safer, and they're there to protect you from injury. If you want to get help on a machine, you always got to make sure you ask me so that I can provide somebody to help you. Also remember that if you injure yourself in any way whatsoever, you immediately tell me about that so that I have a chance to address that situation. When you're touching electrical switches, obvious answer, make sure your hands are dry at all times. You got to make sure that your hands are completely dry. That's what really matters when it comes to touching electrical switches. And keep your hands away from the electrical prongs and so forth. Don't plug in something while you're not watching. Keep an eye out, be careful, be aware that electrical shock is a serious thing, and that's at home and everywhere in your life. And unplug that TV before you fix it, or computer, or whatever it is you're doing. Number 17, which I probably shouldn't have said, is to make sure that if you're using a tool that doesn't have a handle, it's missing its handle or something like that, you could definitely get hurt from that. Don't wrap a towel around it or do something crazy with it. Just make sure that you have a handle on and that it's nice and tight before you use any hand tool that's got a handle. Don't distract somebody while they're working. There's a lot of things that could happen, including them being hurt or damaging their work, or yeah, that's pretty much it. Sharp pointed tools. If you remember, you need, when you're walking around the room with them, you want to make sure they're not pointing at anybody. You also want to make sure that you're not holding them real tight in your hand, that they're loosely held, and that you're not pointing at anybody, down at your side, away, just so that if you get bumped, you're going to drop them and not stab somebody. Please remember that you're the only person who should be turning on a machine or off a machine. Well, the person using the machine is the only person who should be turning it on or turning it off. Just stay away from people while they're working on a machine. So that only the person using the machine should be turning it on or off. When you're feeding work into a machine, your wood into a machine, you want to feed it in as fast as the machine is designed without forcing the machine. You don't want to be overpowering the machine or overloading the machine. The machine's making a weird sound, you're going too fast. If you're going too slowly, it could also create too much friction, which causes the blade to heat up, which causes the blades to snap and so forth. So there is kind of a perfect speed for these machines. You just want the machine to work at optimum speed so the machine looks like it's working just the way it's supposed to. Don't be in a hurry, do it the right way. If you find something broken in the classroom, obviously you need to tell me about it immediately. Before you start and operate a machine, you need to have my permission to be able to do so. You also need to pass the written and operational tests, but pretty much if you've got my permission, then that probably covers most of the other stuff. Keep 4 on the floor when it comes to these stools. Don't lean in these stools. Lots of bad things can happen if you're leaning in one of these stools. You could hurt yourself, you hurt somebody else, you damage your own work, you damage somebody else's work, you startle somebody across the room and cause them to hurt themselves. There's just lots of bad things that could happen in this classroom if you're leaning in your stool. So keep 4 on the floor, as they say. We talked about that one already. This one, you need to let the machine come to a full and complete and total dead stop before you walk away from the machine, before you adjust the machine, before you clean the machine, before you do anything other than using the machine. You turn the machine off, you personally turn the machine off, and then you let the machine come to a full stop before you do anything like that. 28 is that whole be where you are thing. This is a wood shop. This is not a playground, which means there's no running, there's no goofing off, there's no playing. This is a serious place where you get to enjoy yourself and have a good time with your friends and work and get your work done and feel good about yourself. At the same time, you're respectful always of the environment you're in, and this is not a place for running or scuffling or misconduct in any way whatsoever. You need to behave appropriately. It is dangerous to be goofing off in this classroom, and it should never be done. If you're in doubt about any rules, you need to make sure you come and see Mr. Olson, me personally, the teacher. Before you're cutting a piece of wood or material of some sort, you want to make sure of various things are not, that don't exist on the board, aka the paint. We're talking about paint, we're talking about the rocks, we're talking about dirt, we're talking about nails, we're talking about the loose knots. All these things, you gotta keep an eye out for those things. They're not going to happen very often because, like I said, I'm providing you with fresh, brand new wood, which generally doesn't have any of that. You might end up with a staple in the end of your board sometimes, but you're also, if you're in wood 1, you're very unlikely to be using any tool that's going to have a problem with this, except for the sanders. You definitely don't want to have paint on your boards and then put it into the sanders. It's going to clog that up. We talked about that already. You got to make sure the machine is at a dead stop before you do any kind of cleaning or anything like that. Face shields are there to protect your eyes from flying particles, so you need to make sure you're wearing your safety glasses all times in this classroom, because we've got to protect our eyes from things that are, some kid hits something across the room, it goes flying at you. You got to make sure you protect your eyes. Once again, regarding the hand tools, you got to make sure the handles are tight. You don't want them to be loose because the tool's not going to work properly if the handle is loose. This is a bench brush. Know the phrase bench brush, because that's what you're using when you're sweeping up or cleaning off tools and so forth. Chips, shaving scraps and such are cleaned from the benches with a bench brush, not with your hand, not with a small broom, not with a broom. It's a bench brush. If anything is spilled in the classroom, two things need to happen. What are they? I know you're saying them right now at home on your computer, but they are to make sure it is cleaned up thoroughly and make sure that I am aware of it so that I can make sure that it's cleaned up and I can potentially warn kids if there's a safety hazard on the floor, of liquid on the floor. If equipment is making a weird sound or strange sound, we've talked about that a lot, but you always got to make sure you let me know about that. It's very important. The next one is about the covered red metal container. It's up front. That's for cloth that has like cloth or paper towels or anything that has anything that's flammable or combustible on it. So oil or gasoline or an oil-based finish. These are things that are a fire hazard, and therefore those things need to go in the covered red metal containers. The guards are there to protect you, so do not remove the guards unless you've talked to me about it with my permission, but pretty much what you want to write on the test is that you do not want to remove these guards. If you're injured in any way whatsoever, no matter how small that is, you make sure you tell me about it. This is a mallet. This one's a hammer. They're different tools. This one's a mallet. Don't say plastic hammer, because that will definitely get you a wrong answer on the test. It is called a mallet. And we use those whenever we're working on wooden or plastic handled tools, or anytime we want to avoid damaging what it is we're hitting, basically. This is called a hand plane. When you're working at your table and you need to put it down for a second, you put it on its side, okay? So that you don't put it down on the blade and scooch it around and damage that blade. And the only person that should be in the safety zone, like the yellow and black taped off area around these machines, is the operator of the machine. Okay, yes, you could have an assistant if I've assigned them to that, but really what the safety exam is looking for is only the operator of the machine should be in that area. And if somebody is helping you, they should help you and then get out. So in the end, there's only the operator of the machine in that safety area. Okay, that should prepare you for the safety exam. If you need to watch these videos again, go ahead. Watch them as many times as you want, and come on in and take the test. Thank you very much.